Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades in my life. I'm in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. At this time, they dubbed it the SMOOTH program. I think it's Special Monitoring Unit. You know, when they first put me over there, they put me in with this white boy from GBG, some 6'6" skinny white boy. But like I said, there was nothing wrong with him as far as his paperwork checked out. The issue he has with his community, as far as the whites go, he was a homosexual. So anytime they put a white dude in his cell, that white guy, that whoever's living with him, is gonna get a kite from another white guy telling him that he's gotta take off on dude. And prior to me being his cellie, he already beat up 2 of his other cellies that were white. But like I said, when I first come in, I asked him if there was an issue with me being in a cell with him. And for the most part, there was no issue other than that I know I can't live with him and he can't live with me. But coming into his cell, we never had a chance to formulate a plot on how to get out of the cell without us crashing. Because I don't know the guy. I'm not gonna allow the COs or the staff or anybody else, even my own homies or whatever, to put me in the trick bag. If I don't got no beef with this dude and there's no justifiable reason to beat him up or to have any confrontation with him, that I'm not gonna allow somebody else to, hype me up. But we never got a chance to formulate our plan because, as I shared with you in the last video, the second day we was there, we smoked some freaking spice, some K2 or Deuce, whatever you want to call it, and went on a fucking crazy ass trip. So now they brought me back. On Friday, they brought me back after I gave them 3 shits. Well, about 2 hours later, they brought him back too. Now we're in there on Friday. There's no rec for Saturdays and Sunday. So we end up staying the weekend, kicking it. But on Monday, they're gonna start calling us back for rec. And by the time they call us back for rec on Monday, him and I formulated a plan. I'm gonna go out to rec. He's gonna stay in the cell. When they take me out to rec, I'm gonna hold the rec cage. Cause when you try to have conversation with these staffs through the normal channels, they ignore you. There's been plenty of incidents in there where dudes try to tell staff, hey, I can't be in the cell with this guy because, he's crazy or he's on pills or whatever. And, I think my life is in danger. Well, on these 2 incidents that I will share with you the coming up week, was that these people ignored these cry for help and ended up being fatal to some of these people in the cell. So I know trying to have a conversation with the staff saying, hey, I'm Asian, I can't be in a cell with a white dude, is not gonna get me anywhere. So the only way to get their attention is to buck the system and force their hand. So that morning they come and take us out for rec. I go out to rec. Since he didn't come out to rec, they just put me in a rec cage by myself. I got Mexicans on one side, I got black dudes on the other side of me, and half of these dudes I already know. So I'm chopping up with them. I'm trying to get their advice on how to go about getting, a cell change and all that stuff. And everybody's just like, man, these people do whatever they want. When the SMOOTH first opened up, the administration felt their mentality was, this is our program. And everybody that comes through the program is going to do what we tell them. They weren't respecting the politics of the penitentiary that goes beyond the SMOOTH program, that is beyond Lewisburg itself. When you come in the beginning, it was an 18-month program. You have, I think it's like 6-month phase 1, 6 months phase 2, and then 4 months phase 3, and then on phase 4, you're already getting designated back into population somehow. By phase 1 and phase 2, you're stuck in your cell 23 and 1. You know, you're supposed to get rec from Monday through Friday, but it doesn't always happen. So for the most part, you're stuck in your cell. And you better figure out your own program. Like my program was, I wake up every morning at 5:30. They serve breakfast between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock. After they serve me breakfast, I listen to my radio show. I'll jump back and forth between NPR. They had a local station called Democracy Now! Where at the time that I was there, they were broadcasting what was going on with the Dakota pipelines. You know, that oil pipeline that they were trying to build coming up north from Canada all the way down south, and all the Native Americans and stuff that was over there protesting. So every day I get news of it. And also at the time I was in the SMU, you know, there was a lot of killings going on as far as officers on the streets getting ambushed and smoked. You know, there was that incident in Texas where I believe that guy killed like 5 police, and then they sent a drone or a remote control robot with a bomb and blew his ass up. You know, so I stay up to current news. And when you're listening to Democracy Now!, they had a few lawsuits. They had broadcast a few lawsuits about people that was where we were at in Lewisburg that had been killed and had died there. So I get all these information, and I know that the place I'm in is not dangerous as far as being around other convicts, because you're never around nobody else. The only person you're going to be in a confrontation with is your cellie, or when you go to the rec cage. For the most part, the danger that lurks around the corner in the SMU program is the staff, the COs, because they have no one holds them accountable for the shit that they do. And some of the shit that they were doing it for kicks. When I got there, people were telling us stories about, you know, how they were forcing people into cells that don't belong together. Because their mentality was that we're the administration and you're in our program, so you're going to do what you want to do. You're going to do what we tell you to do. And they feel like, well, you're not going to risk getting a shot and getting set back day 1, phase 1, starting the program over, so you're going to abide by their rules. Because before it was an 18-month program. But if you get any type of shot, don't matter if you're on phase 1 or phase 3, you're going to get set back and have to start the program all over again. So, but in phase 3, you get put into a unit where you get to come out for rec, you get to come out for a day room, so you're able to interact with other inmates in that block as opposed to just being locked down 23 and 1. Well, everywhere throughout the penitentiary, they know who is affiliated with who. They know what war is going on. They know who's beefing. They know all that. They all communicate through the system as far as the administrations. But what they were doing in the beginning, why people were getting stuck for 2 or 3 cycles, is that when they get put on phase 3 and are starting to insert themselves back into population, they go into a unit where they're in there with other inmates. And they were trying to force like TS members to house with Serenos. And they forced them in the cell. But these guys let them know, hey, you know we can't be together. And the only answer with the CO would be like, well, ain't nobody dead. Well, when they leave and come back, sometimes somebody's dead. Because these dudes that are a part of these gangs, that are a part of these prison gangs or families or organizations, they're going to be held accountable by their people when they leave this program. So if a TS housed with a Sereno, if a Sereno housed with a Norteño, or whatever other gangs that are beefing in the system at the time, if they house with each other, when they leave Lewisburg, Like I tell you, there's no secrets in the penitentiary. Everybody, especially if you're part of an organization, part of a family, they know where all their members are. They know what their members are doing on other yards. So when they leave this smooth program and hit a population and hit a regular yard, and their people find out, let's just say if you're a norteño or a sereno, and they find out that you were selling up with the opposition, well, what do you think is going to happen to you? Your own people's going to butcher you because it's supposed to be on site. You guys are at war. The TS with the Serenos, the MAs with the Paisas, and so on and so forth. These prospective groups are at war with each other. And they're not at war when they see each other, they try to beat each other up type of war. They're at war when they see each other, they're trying to kill each other. And the administration refused to acknowledge that or refused to respect that and forces these individuals into these cells or these cages together, and these dudes end up chopping each other up, end up killing each other, and at the same time end up having to start the program all over again. But by the time I got there, because the smooth program has already been open for a few years before I got there. By the time I got there, they had so many lawsuits on them that the administration had toned it down a little bit. But all the horror stories were, before me getting there, where they were forcing these people in cages that weren't supposed to be there together. And they know what's going to happen. So a lot of times they would take, let's just say, these two rival gangs that are beefing, they would put two little one in from the same gang into a red cage, then bring out a big dude in there into a red cage. And in the beginning, when people first got to the smooth, they didn't really have knives and weapons yet because, like I said, it takes a little bit to cut your bunks. And in the smooth program, they're doing cell rotation every 3 weeks. You never stay in one cell for longer than 3 weeks. Every 21 days, you're doing cell rotations. And also, on a daily basis, they're coming in there, shaking down your cell, looking through your shit. If there's any pieces of metal missing, if anything's been cut, if your sheet's been ripped, or anything like that, they'll write you a shot and you'll start over. So in the beginning, when they were putting these individuals in these red cages, it would just be fist fight. The guys in the red cage will end up beating each other up, and they'll come over there and shoot them up with mace, and shoot them up with bean bags or whatever. Well, as it escalated, as time, as people been in there for a little bit longer and were able to scope out what they can peel off the wall or the bunk or whatever to make weapons, instead of fist fight when they put these people in the red cages, dudes were getting stabbed up in these red cages. And a bunch of lawsuits started coming down on Lewisburg. So by the time I got there, they had toned it down a little bit. So now they got me in a predicament. I mean, as far as me go with my people, I don't have to answer to my people, to the Asian Islanders when I leave this compound, because other races don't have politics over me. But at the same time, even though that my people, the Asian Islander, is not going to say anything to me about housing with a white dude or housing with a homosexual, for me, for my personal reasons, is that I like to always have my name above scrutiny. I don't want to do anything that's going to be perceived as not what I'm supposed to be doing. So I know I'm not supposed to sell it with this dude, because the main reason is not that he's a homosexual, is because his community doesn't accept him. So if your community doesn't accept you, I'm not gonna sit there with you. Even though I don't have any issues with this guy in particular, I don't have any issue with him. Everything about him checks out. Like, the only issue with him as far as his community with the whites was that he was gay and the whites don't want gays around them for whatever reason. So my plan is to go out to the rec cage and not cuff up when it's time for them to bring us back and demand to talk to a lieutenant and tell them that they need to be putting me with my peoples. So when they come after the hour and take everybody out and they come and try to cuff me up, I refuse. So the guy that was working the rec cage, the CO, like I don't know his name, but during my time there, he seemed to be a pretty decent dude. And so they took everybody out, and he comes back to my cage. He's like, man, what are you doing? I said, man, I need to talk to a lieutenant. He said, man, go back in there, and I'll let the lieutenant know that you can talk to him. I said, nah, you know how that works. The motherfucker's never gonna come by to my cell. I might not see him for a week, and you guys got me in a predicament right now, and I need to be put in with my peoples. So he looks at me, and he's like, hey, you sure you want to do this? I said, yeah, I already made up my mind. I'm doing this. I said, listen, if you hold this rec cage, they're going to bang everybody else's rec. That means while they're dealing with an incident, no other movement is going to happen. When we come out the rec, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. And this is still early May, so it's still kind of a little cold in the morning. So when they come out and they have to deal with a situation, they're going to stop all movements. That means pulling out rec, pulling people to medical or whatever. They're going to stop all movements until this one particular issue is dealt with. So he's like, hey, if you hold this cage, all them other 3 buildings that haven't got wrecked yet, they're not going to get their wreck for that day. And for me, I know how important it is for us to go out to wreck. It's our only time that we can get out of our cell and not be shackled and handcuffed. I mean, the rec cage is maybe twice the size of a cell. You got 6 people in there. If 2 of you or 3 of you are working out, there's really no place to go but stand around. But during rec is where we come and catch the news with other people, chop it up, see some of our homies that are down the hallway or even on a different tier or a different block, depending on where they put you in the cage. But also, he told me, and he was real serious when he said to me, listen, if you hold this rec cage, they're going to come down here and they're going to fuck you up. And I'm telling you, I don't know what you've heard about the SMU, but I'm pretty sure you have a good imagination, and I'm pretty sure you've been around long enough to know what's going to happen. So when he said that to me, it made me contemplate my situation a little bit. But at the same time, I'm adamant about being removed from my cell and being put with my peoples. So I'm looking at the CO and I'm like, well, what do you suggest? Because at the same time, I'm not trying to get fucked up just to get fucked up. This is not an issue that I'm going to die over. This is prison politics, but also it's these staff that's putting me in this trick bag that now I have to figure out how to outsmart them and get what I want without getting myself fucked off. So the CEO's like, look, go hold the shower. Because it's easier for you to just hold the shower. That way it's not out here. Because, when you're indoors, they're not so readily just to shoot you up with the mace, because there's no mace. The OC, the canister, because when they shoot you in a closed confinement, they're going to get fucked up from it too. Whereas opposed to outdoors, they can just shoot you up all they want. But me and my cellie, we already had an understanding that I'm the only one that's going to go out to wreck that morning. And for some other reason, if they try to bring me back to the block, for him not to cuff up, because they can't put me in his cell if he doesn't cuff up, because they're not going to open that door without him being cuffed up. So I don't hold a rec cage because, be honest with you, the CO scared me off of it. You know, I wasn't trying to get fucked up and shot up just for this incident. So I let him cuff me up and he take me upstairs and he take me back to my cell. But according to our plan, he's not gonna cuff up. So when they take me to my cell and they tell the white dude, hey, to cuff up, he refuses. And you know, now the COs, they're mad, like, because he's refusing, I'm refusing. So they take me and lock me in the shower. Boom. I'm still handcuffed. I'm standing in the shower. And, well, here comes that lieutenant again, the silver hair dude, you know, whatever. He comes back over this, what? You again? Motherfucker? Huh? This, you know, and just kept running. I don't know exactly what he said, but he's just sitting there cussing at me, talking shit, whatever. I'm just standing there. I'm like, hey, I'm not doing anything that I'm not supposed to. You know I'm not supposed to be housed with all these different races, but you guys keep trying to fucking put me in a trick bag. So all I'm asking for you is to house me with my people. And what are you? What are you? Oh, you're a fucking Asian Islander? Well, newsflash, there's no fucking Asian Islanders here. You know, there ain't enough of you motherfuckers to be housed together. And through the whole SMU program, as far as I know, there was only like 2 other Asians and Islander. My homeboy Rafe that beat up Marquez like 5 years prior to me being in the SMU, he was in the SMU somewhere, but I don't know where he was at. And I guess they had one other Asian dude that was in another block. So they leave, you know, they're mad about it or whatever. And I don't know what they did with the white boy, you know, but we already had an understanding that we're not going to be cellies after today. However, like, we're going to go about it in a non-violent way. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do what's necessary to make sure that I get moved. So if that ends up getting me beat up, then that's what it is. But I don't want to just start out that way, you know. There's no reason. I'm not one of them dudes that's interested and looking to get my head bashed in any particular time. So finally, they go do whatever they do. So he comes back and he's like, oh yeah? You want to be with another Asian, huh? All right, I got something for your ass. So they cuff me up. They go back, the CO rolled up my property or whatever. They take me to another block, B block. And they take me to this door. And I'm looking at the picture on the door, because, you know, they got our ID tag on the door. And the dude that lives in this cell, he's not in there right now because their range is like all at rec. I look on the door tag, and it's a Vietnamese dude. I recognize the name, Nguyen. You know, like Americans spell it Nugent, but I mean, it's pronounced Nguyen. Phong Nguyen. And I look at his picture, and he looks crazy. He looks like a mean dude, wherever. And I'm just like, all right, you know, whatever. This is what I wanted. Put me in there. So, but like I said, he's out at rec. So I go in, they open the door, put me in there, uncuff me. I just take my property, I put it on the top bunk. I don't make my bed. I don't do anything because I don't know who I'm living with. And I'm not going to waste my time making my bed and all that shit if I'm going to end up in a fight. Because, you know, coming to the SMU program, most of the people that are put in the SMU programs are people that they deem that couldn't function properly on a regular high security prison. So a lot of us are disciplinaries. You know, people that's been in funks and whatever reason they got in there, is just, we're not model citizens or model inmates. And we have a habit, you know, the way they characterize us, we have a habit of not following the rules. So I stay in the cell for about 40 minutes before they call everybody back from rec. So when a guy comes back from rec, they cuff me up, open the door, close the door, uncuff me, uncuff him, or whatever. And we start to, I introduce myself. I let him know who I am. He's introducing me. He's, I think he's out of Philly or Boston area. His real name is Feng Win, but we call him, but he goes by Tran. He's got long hair, but it's cut up like the old Chinese haircut where they shave their head up here and they just have the back of their hair like a moped. Is it a moped? Mullet. A mullet, yeah, whatever. But, I introduce myself to him. He introduced himself to me, and come to find out, he's already heard my name through the system already. And at the end of the day, we were cool. We ended up being cool. And he just gave me the breakdown of all what's been going on the compound, as far as the SMUD program. And he shared a few stories for me to get me aware of the situation. Like being in the SMUD, there's not a lot of us. There's not a lot of Asians or Islanders. The whole time I was there may be any particular time a total of 4 or 5 of us. So, but we're all spread out through different units. They don't have us on the same range. And when they put you in rec, you get 6 people to a rec, 3 cells. But being on our tier, we're the only Asian Islander. They have to rec. They don't want to give us a cage to ourselves, so they rec us with other races. And right now, at this time, they got him wrecking with a couple Mexicans, a couple Paisas. But these guys aren't really like Paisas. They're from Virginia and Carolina or whatever. But they hit a yard where it was either running with the Paisas or Sereños, and they chose to run with the Paisas, so they got classified as being a Paisa. But, they spoke perfect English. They, the one that was in our rec cage with us, he's been to the military, and he's from Virginia, and, don't know a lick of Spanish, but he's running Paisas just because of the circumstances that he was put in coming through the system. And for Tran, like I said, throughout the course of my time, I met a lot of people that I've built relationship with and respect. And it, like for me, it's just like getting to know all these different people and then understanding our situation that, a lot of these people that I meet through the course of my bid aren't going home or have so much more time than me. It's sad, because Tran, the individual that I met, I never met him till I was put in his cell in the SMUD. He was a pretty good dude, regardless, like I said, regardless of how you feel about the things that we've done or things we signed up for. I've been fortunate through the course of my time to meet real men that I respect and care about. He's been in the SMUD program for like 14 months. So when he first came, the program was still 18 months. But he's getting ready to go on phase 4, and they're getting ready to put him back in population. So he ended up leaving to population. And when I got there, I got written up for the incident, with the deuce, because they charged me for destroying evidence, because when I flushed that thing down the toilet, and then also for bucking the rec cage. So I got like 3 shots. So having those 3 shots, I got my phone taken, and I got my commissary taken away from me. You're in a cell, you get 3 meals a day, but it's beans and rice for the most part, and it's not a whole lot of it. If you ate everything in your tray, yeah, you'll be able to get healthy and stay fit or whatever. But it's just, that's all it is. A lot of people look forward to commissary, the little bit that they got, the little $35, $25 that they can spend on commissary each week or each month is something they look forward to. But, I'm asked out. I'm on restriction. I'm on phone restriction, and I'm on commissary restriction. So for 2 years, from being in the shoe in Atwater until I left the SMU, I was never able to use the phone nor buy any commissary. But when Tran left, he had a bunch of stuff that he accumulated while he was there. And he left me everything. He left me like 60 flat books. These are book of stamps. And at this time, each book of stamps is like, $10. And he left me like 60 of them. So he left me almost $600 worth of stamps, whatever, his extra radio, anything that, because he knew he was going back to the compound and he was going to able to accumulate whatever material stuff that he needed. And he knows the situation because he's already been in the SMU for over a year and a half that, we're asked out over here in the SMU. And, being on restriction and everything, being there, I really appreciate the love that he extended me when he left. Like I said, regardless of how you feel about us, I've been fortunate through the course of my bid that I met a lot of good people along the way, and they enabled me to help. They enabled me to have a better time doing my time. Because, when you're stuck in a cell, man, and knowing that you're not going to go anywhere, knowing you can't leave, not really knowing how long you're going to be there. Yeah, it's this 9-month program, but through the course of for the duration that you're there, you never know what's going to transpire. And you're not going to really understand, I don't know how to express myself. It's just almost a sense of hopelessness. That's what I'm getting to, because you don't know what your future holds. And the place that you're in, especially in this time in my life, I'm in a harsh place. I'm in a place where they're liable to put me in a wreck cage with somebody that I might have to kill or end up killing me. Or if not that, if through the course of my stay there, I have a confrontation with the CO over whatever issue that I'm not feeling, there's nothing stopping them from coming in my cell and beating my brains in. I've met so many people that are physically handicapped and are mentally disabled from the assault that they suffer from these staffs. But, these staffs are never held accountable for any of these things that they do. Because, when they're beating your ass, other inmates are not able to witness it. And the only thing that you ever hear on their recording is them screaming, "Stop resisting, stop resisting." When they're saying stop resisting and they're yelling it out real loud, that's for the purpose of the camera. So if it gets taken to court, they can justify, we were beating his ass because he was resisting and he wouldn't stop resisting. So we had to continue to beat his ass to subdue him. And, it's unfortunate that it got to the point where he's maimed, or that he's brain damaged, or that he's dead. Their justification is that we're protecting ourselves and our other staff members because this is a dangerous inmate. Look at his jacket. He's in here for killings. He's in here for stabbing. He's in here for robberies. These are violent individuals, and we couldn't take the risk that one of our staff member was going to get injured. And the courts buy it every single time. Every single time. Well, this is the world I'm in right now. So through the course of these videos coming up, I'm going to share with you, if you don't know, what the SMU program is really about. Welcome to the USP.